I was saying, see, he just hit for me. Will Anderson's a hit. You mentioned Juice Scruggs. That's another hit for me. Tank, that was another hit right there. That's four guys that I feel like is definitely going to come in, start, contribute right away. Then you go TCU edge, Dylan Horton. Now this linebacker that y'all went next is one of my favorite ones, Henry Tutu. And y'all went Jared Patterson, the guard from Notre Dame. And y'all got another wide receiver in Xavier Hutchinson and Brandon Hill. So is there anybody that, surprisingly, like you think like one of these guys from the late rounds is going to make a immediate impact?
I think you might be surprised a little bit. It could be with Xavier Hutchinson. I mean, this was a receiver that was number 2 in the nation in catches last year per game, or number 2 in catches, number 1 in catches per game in the country in college football. So the question with him is there's concern whether, he's got the speed and the ability to find open space. And that's, I guess, just he didn't run the 40 in a time that I think gave people confidence. If he did, you'd see him much higher in the draft. So maybe he's going to surprise some people. I don't know these guys well. And I mean, honestly, I'm not as much of a draft expert, but just, the stuff that I'm hearing, just somebody like him, maybe Dylan Horton can give you a little bit. He's somebody that started off as a safety when he entered college football and has added 50 pounds and became a defensive end and a pass rusher at TCU. So we'll see what he potentially can do. But what's interesting is Scruggs is the second round center that they got. But Patterson, you mentioned him as a guard, but he played both guard and center and mostly center recently. So they have some insurance with Patterson and Scruggs. So you have 2 of the probably 6 or 8 centers in the draft. So one of those guys should be able to handle the starting position and should be ready to go. And if that guy can't handle it, maybe the other guy could. So it gives you a little bit of insurance. It also gives you some insurance at the guard positions as well, some depth and that sort of thing. But I mean, the thing with Will Anderson is everybody's going to talk about, and this guy's one of the best pass rushers in the draft. But I will add, the Texans need a leader on defense. And what Will Anderson brings to the locker room, which is what D'Amico Ryans brought to the locker room when the Texans drafted him 17 years ago. And that defense started to change when D'Amico Ryans entered that locker room. And then, a few years later, they added J.J. Watt. And then you saw a playoff team with guys like that on defense. That's a big deal because it wasn't just about getting Will Anderson, the player. It was about getting Will Anderson, the person, and the leadership. And there's question marks about should the Texans have given all of that capital to get Will Anderson. And yes, I think they gave up a little bit too much. I don't know if it was necessary for them to add that early second round pick this year that they gave up for Will Anderson. But I feel like it was almost like those draft picks were for both Anderson and Stroud, because I think they thought Anderson was number 2 in the draft and probably would have drafted him 2, but they drafted him 3. So they didn't have to give up quite as much in a trade package if CJ Stroud dropped to 3, because there were other teams that wanted CJ Stroud. So I think really they were giving up that draft package kind of for the package of those 2 guys, because they wanted both guys, because they felt like one of them could change the offense and the other one could change the defense.